Welcome to What's the Effie?
What the Effie?
Hi everyone, welcome. I hope you have your popcorn ready and your drinks because today we're going to have an excellent podcast. We have Keston Glasgow with us, and that is a huge treat for anyone and everyone. Hi, Keston. Thank you so much for coming.
What's up, Effie? Man, could I tell you how jealous I am of your intro? Like, amazing. I'm over here like, yo, this is so good. Oh, man. Thank you for having me, Effie.
Oh, my pleasure. My absolute pleasure, as it will be for absolutely everyone here. And hi, folks. I do see some of the names being pulled up, and I appreciate it. So thank you for that. Yeah, the intros and the you know pre whatever you want to call them, they're totally out of the norm, but they're different, so that's okay. Anyhow, so hi, Laura. Okay, so it's very exciting to me. It's almost like I could just be saying hi, because I get so excited. Hi, Tom. But we have more important things to do here because we do have such a very special guest. So, on some of the episodes, I do ask for people to, or give them the opportunity to tell us, what they might want to hear. So, what questions do you have for Keston? If you've got questions, which I'm sure you do, drop them in the chat.
Ooh, I love it.
Yeah, we'll see what they come up with. F-E is up. Hi, Josh. I wanted to begin. I begin in different places with everybody. I haven't gotten any kind of vanilla thing going, continuity. I just go with the flow. And one of the things that I had asked Keston for is a little bit of the background of when he was young. So I have here, let's see if I can do this. All right.
Who's that kid?
Who the Effie is this? Such a
man.
cutie.
This is me as a baby, yo. This is like, look at me running around with like 4 little teeth, in my little sailor outfit, and obviously not wanting to take this picture right now.
But I love the way you've got those keys in your hand, and it's so tactile, right? Like you can tell that you were, just playing with them, and now you're being a little interrupted. How old were you here?
I don't even know if I was like past 2 years. I had to be younger than 2 years old, but I always wanted the keys, always wanted real estate. So I got the keys. See that right there?
I see it. And tell us where you are.
So at this point in time, I'm 2 years old in Trinidad and Tobago, which is where I was born, and spent the majority of my my life as a kid. I left Trinidad when I was 16 years old to come to the US, where I migrated and landed in Brooklyn, New York. So that's how I started.
In this picture here, how old were you?
Oh, this is me at 15 years. And so this is like just when we're getting ready to migrate to the US. See, guys, this is my entire family. I got my big sister right next to me, my mom in the middle, my dad, and then my little sister. And I mean, where like if you'd see my family even like on my Facebook page and stuff like that, right? Because I'm super family oriented, and this guys, look at this picture, look at me. Like if this is any, like if anyone ever felt down and like uninspired, look at this picture and be like, man, if he could do it, I could do it. Like just look at that.
Totally. Josh asks an interesting question. Was coming to the US of a dream of yours, or were you just being tagged along because you're part of the family, you're going to do what we say?
That's an amazing question. And the truth, the real answer to that was my parents gave me the option to stay in Trinidad, right? They were like, we're gonna migrate. You're almost finished with school in Trinidad. You have the option. You had one more year, and then you could come with me. And in Trinidad, they do what's called they have an exam, pretty much just like the Regents exam up here in the US. And I was so scared of doing this exam, and in the Caribbean, it's called CXC.
Mhm.
And I was so scared of doing the CXC exam that I'm like, I'm out of here. Like, I don't get to take this. I'm out of here. And so I booked it, and I came with my parents and my entire family. And so no, but coming to the US, it was something that I wanted, because in the Caribbean, my dad, he would come over to the US he would do construction like for 6 months and then bring things back. He would buy some things, he'd buy us clothes and shoes, and then he would bring it back to Trinidad. And that made me feel, like I want to keep up with the Joneses, so to speak, in school. And that was the way that we were able to, for my dad to come over here, work,
Wow.
and bring things back to Trinidad for us.
Wow. So then at 16, you came to the States, and look at this stud. How old were you here? And what the heck was going on? That looks like a pretty big drinking cup.
You know what? I would not. You could drink a lot of things out of this, but it wouldn't be liquor, because you would be totally gone by the time you drink liquor out of this. So how old was I here? This was me maybe around 8 years ago. So I'm in my 30s, just about being 30 or maybe 29, when I had this trophy. And so this was me as a DJ. Some of you, yeah, as a DJ, some of you may know, may or may not know, that I used to DJ prior to my life that I live now. And we were international DJs. And we were also battle DJs. So what I would do is I would travel around the world and it's almost like having like a DJ battle, where people play music, trying to get the crowd all hyped up. And this picture was taken in Switzerland. And so I was in Switzerland when we won this trophy. And so my DJ name was A1, like A1 steak sauce. That was my DJ name. And the group I played music for, name was King Addies, which is on the shirt, King Addies. And it's one of the biggest reggae DJ groups that ever existed. And when I say ever existed, I really mean that. Very revolutionary. And so what we did as the Young Bucks, when I did play for King Addies, was it was almost like, imagine Coca-Cola no longer existed, and then somebody like come and rebranded it and got it back to its original kind of like excitement and stuff like that. That's what we did with King Addies. And so I used to be a part of this group that took me around the world. So yeah, that's
very,
me there.
very cool. I think that's incredible. And I did not know that. I mean, I knew you were really good with crowds, because I had met you and seen you on Carlos's multifamily.
Yeah.
And I was very impressed on how you could encourage everybody to participate and such. But now I see where that skill came from. That's pretty cool.
Isn't it crazy how you're being prepared for something and you don't even know what you're being prepared for?
Yeah.
Um, yeah, totally. Don't let me get into mindset stuff so quick, Effie.
Well, it's interesting, because you do have to connect with, oops, that went fast. You do have to connect with public and with others in order to be able to do mindset. So talk
Yeah.
to me about this one here. How recent is it?
So this was maybe around the same time as when I played music, because I wore different hats. So during the day, I would be corporate, worked on Wall Street. I used to be a cybersecurity engineer. And at night, I would put my hat on and I'll go in the hood. And so that was the life that I lived. And this me here is a day going to work, regular day going to work for me and just
Wow.
taking a selfie. Um, yeah, that was me, as well as the other.
Cybersecurity, that's pretty high up there. And every company, you know, uh, except for me, of course, worries about that sort of thing. So you have to be pretty well trained. It must have been decently paying, also, right?
Yeah, I did get paid pretty well, pretty good six-figure paying salary. Um, and you know what's funny? You mentioned something that you have to be well trained, and you're right, you do. But I'll tell you, like when I started in at this law firm. I was at the help desk. I was the first IT person that people would call to report a problem. Then I got promoted to being a systems engineer. And without any additional certification or anything, just straight attitude and hunger and desire, I got promoted to being that engineer. And then again, attitude, desire, showing commitment. Then I got promoted again without a certification to have one of the highest IT jobs at the law firm, like you said, that I was not certified to do. It was just my mindset. It was my sheer determination that got me to being a cybersecurity person. But I would always joke and say that I was a fake cybersecurity guy, because I would go to all of these like security expos and all of that, and I'll be the only guy like, man, this crap is boring. Like, I'm not excited. And so, just a piece, just so you guys know, I like to be honest about these things.
That's
But yeah.
funny. That's funny. And then the last, wait, I'm going the wrong way. Okay, still on the learning curve, folks. So this one here is your 9 to 5 look.
Yeah, this
You got
is
it going. This is where you are now, right?
this is my 9 to 5 look. No, this was when I had my 9 to 5 job. Where I am now, I hardly even dress like this anymore. only when I'm only when I'm like going to church and stuff like that, I get dressed up. But or when my wife and I were going to somewhere special. But as a real estate investor, as you know, this suit kind of does not match, right? Walking into a property to look to see if we gonna buy it or not. But I still do love getting dressed up. It's a part of me. And so this was before I left my 9 to 5 as well.
Well, that's pretty cool. So I'm interested in your journey on how you got from cybersecurity and DJing to real estate and to mindset. So could you transition us to that? Like, tell us how you got into it. And I will also add that anyone and everyone who has taken your training, your courses, speaks so highly of you. and they don't seem to mind at all that they're paying you a fortune, and instead they feel privileged. So I'm like, wow, that is so cool. Tell me how you did that.
So in getting started, and I guess we could take it from the cybersecurity job, right? And being there, working at Wall Street, having a really, really, really great job that I could travel anywhere in the world. I could be anywhere and still have a job. And when I got there, you guys seen my humble beginnings. It still felt like there was a lot more to life. And so in wanting more and desiring more, I always felt like doing something that could make me be creative, that could help me like go beyond the four walls of a job, was something that I desire. And so it's then we started. COVID happened, and when COVID happened, it was the time that my wife and we had just said we're going to commit to doing real estate. So January of 2020, we finally committed to saying we're going to take our life seriously, and start doing real estate, because prior to that we tried doing a bunch of other different things, and one of those was Amazon. And so when I met my wife, I had an Amazon company, and we had just gotten to like 30K a month in doing Amazon.
Wow.
And yeah, it was doing pretty well. But when she came in, I had her do things, and she made the boxes. I used to sell these pest repellers and all that type of stuff. And she came in and made the boxes a lot better, the designs a lot better, because I was just taking action, right? Just doing what I know how to do. I wasn't focused on graphics and all that type of stuff. And then I started to push her into wanting, like, forcing her to do more in the business. I'm like, hey, this is how we're going to get financial freedom. I need you to create this. I need you to do that. I need you to learn about taxes. I need you to learn. And until it became so overwhelming for her that she wanted nothing to do with it. Right.
Whoa.
And I knew that I had a vision from God. I had this inner thing that told me that we were supposed to work together. We were going to do business together. And so I had realized, because I didn't want to have the same mistake happen again, which was end up in a divorce, which had happened to me previously. But it was because I was so driven by this desire for the American dream. And so what I did was I shut down the Amazon business. I'm like, babe, this is what I hear God saying to do. And so we totally shut it down. She didn't want me to shut it down at all, because it was making money, but we weren't on the same page. And my commitment was we had to be on the same page to be able to do stuff. And so this is now in 2018. And so by the end of 2019, where we did no business, we were just figuring out how to work together. We finally decided, and in between we did different things. So we started a t-shirt company, trying to work together. We started doing Uber together. And so it was all like, let's see the things that we could do that we both enjoy together. And then we landed on real estate. So in 2020, we actually started to do real estate together, and paid 30K to get into this first mentorship. And
Wow.
then
So Pace wasn't your first one.
Pace was not my first mentor. No.
Who did you pay
Um,
30K to? Like, who was
I
your
I used to I used to be with a company that was tied to Rich Dad Poor Dad,
Oh,
um,
okay.
so their educational company, and so in that we, but they went ghost in COVID, and
Mm.
so during COVID. they kind of went silent. It felt like the world was closing in because we had just invested this money and they were no longer around, so to speak.
Oh,
Luckily for us, it's super scary, super scary. Luckily for us, one of the men, the guy that did the presentation, who made the commitment to us, we were able to start doing like some he started this like online RIA meeting that he would do because he felt like his reputation was on the line because he represented the company. And man, till this day, I'm still connected with that mentor, forever grateful because he really kind of kept us up. And his name is Pip Stellick. I sing praises to everything for this man. I still help him out with, like, he has his own company now where it's called Pip's Path, that we do coaching for and we help with sales and all that type of stuff, simply because of him being there for us and the support that he gave us. And so continuing on, now we have the business, now we have the marriage, and we have like all these things. And I was so committed to not making the same mistake. I hired a high performance coach because we were doing all of these different things and I didn't want to make the same mistake again. And so in hiring the high performance coach, she helped me to learn how to strategize my day, how to time block. But the most important thing was how to do all of those things, but still give full attention to my wife. And I felt like I grew wings, like everything just made sense going through that program. And halfway through the program, by July 1st was my absolute last day of my 9-to-5 job because I took a severance package that they were giving out. That caused me to have the confidence, like what I learned from high performance caused me to have the confidence to leave my 9-to-5 job. And
wow.
so from that, and there are multiple things happening here, right? There's the learning of real estate, there's the new marriage, there's the high performance self-help type of thing going on. So it's like multiple different things happening. And then there's still family and there's COVID, right? Let's not forget this is all through COVID. And so then we moved to Georgia, started our wholesaling business.
Why did you go to Georgia? Why to Georgia?
So Georgia was interesting. My wife's mom, she had leukemia at the time as well. And
boy,
we
like
were
you didn't have enough on your plate.
I know. And so we were going back and forth being caretakers of my wife's mom, Georgia to New York, Georgia to New York. And it just felt like we were having arguments over things when we were in New York that we weren't having when we were in Georgia. And one day during my devotional meditational time, I felt like I heard God say, hey, I need you guys to go there, go take care of your wife's mom. And so when I told her, she was like, no way. Like, we're not leaving because my son lived less than 5 minutes away from me. My parents lived upstairs. Like, everything around me was my family. And here I am saying, hey, let's take everything and go somewhere that I have nothing, but she has, I can't say everything, but here's where her mom was at. And it took me being able to say, nope, I'm pretty sure this is what I heard God say. This is what we're doing. And we made that decision to go to Georgia. And so that's why Georgia.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure her mom was very grateful.
Man, I'll make the decision again over and over and over. Because like 3 months after she passed, right? And we got to spend that time with her, just being able to care for her, celebrate her. And I have no idea what that would have looked like being in New York, you know? And so just even being there for that period of time
Mm-hmm.
was absolutely phenomenal. And so all these things happening all at once, we still start a wholesale company that did 1.5 times my six-figure salary from July through December of
What?
2020. Yep.
How did you do that? Because, you know, wholesaling is not easy, and
It's
it takes money. It takes money, to hire VAs and CRMs and lists and time, and it takes time to build relationships. How did you do that so fast like that?
I was just extra committed. I was committed, and then I knew how to plan my day. I think being able to know and understand like your focus and just being super committed and disciplined to that focus, you could do anything. And so I just really knew the important things I needed to do, the amount of time I was going to spend doing it, and still have time with my wife. And it's, I mean, I didn't have the money. That's why we went into hundreds of thousands in debt. But I believed in the process. I believed that if I was able to keep showing up, building these relationships and everything, like everything had a spot on my calendar, Effie. Like literally, even time to go date buyers. Like I would go date buyers. I literally had time that I would set appointments to go to where the buyers were at. And so if they were in their offices or whatever, I would go build relationships with them simply because I knew I needed these people to execute when I had a deal. And so I had my top 5 buyers that I was able to just sell my deals to. It was because of the time that I invested in and my focus time, the time that I was able to focus and know when to get things done.
So then you immediately understood that this was a relationship business.
I believed it was a relationship business. I use the word I believe instead of I understood because I didn't understand yet. I
Interesting.
let, let me tell you the analogy that changed my life. And when I seen this January of 2020 from my first coach, this changed everything for me. He held a cup of water and he filled the cup of water halfway. And he said these words. He said, "Some of you are going to come in here halfway full and I'm going to pour into you." And so he had another, in his other hand, he had a jug of water and he started to pour it in the ballroom, right? And now water is overflowing on the floor. And he's like, "I'm going to pour new things into you. And this is exactly what's going to happen. Everything that I pour into you is going to fall all the way out." And then he's like, "What's left in this cup right now? The knowledge that you first had when you came in here with a little bit of what I gave you." And when I seen that, I was like, holy crap. I was I'm a resilient dude, smart, always kind of, but I wasn't getting the results that I wanted from a, financial standpoint. And he then said, "You need to throw out what you have and just listen to what I'm telling you and do as I say, because I am where you want to be." And when I seen that, I'm like, you know what? I'm willing to learn from this man without putting any of my own understanding or my own thought process. Or I was a cybersecurity engineer. I thought in a certain way. It was very like, do this, do that, and he was asking me to do things that I wouldn't normally do. And so when you ask me, did I understand that relation? No, I would have justified my way to say it's all about the properties, right? I needed more properties, but I emptied my cup and I did what he said. And so I invested the time into building relationships, and I did all of the things.
Wow. That's a lot of faith. That's a lot of faith in that person. But I get it. I get it because I know that when I first met Pace, I realized that it was meant to be, and I did trust him. I trusted him immediately.
Exactly.
Yep. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, and you do have to go on belief, I suppose, as opposed to fully comprehending it. Yeah.
And
Otherwise,
that's the major piece right there, man. If it is that you connect and trust a mentor, they are where you want to be. How much sense does it make to go in there with your own way of thinking if you're paying this person to take you through the process of what they've done? That makes absolutely no sense that you're going in with your own way of thinking. Otherwise, you would have done it already. Now that I'm on this side, I'm like, holy crap. Like, how many people did I not learn from because I thought I had the right way? You know, and even right now, one of my mentors, my business coach, he told me to do something that wasn't what I had planned to do for this quarter going into this Q3. And I'm struggling. Because I want to do what I thought versus what he says. But here's the thing. He's Ryan Pineda's business coach. He's Tiffany High's business coach. He's Eric Bure's business coach.
oh my
I
God.
can keep going on and on and on. Should I not dump the things that I believe that I know and listen to this guy? I think so, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's like, but it's a struggle because that person wants to come out. Your old behaviors and habits, this new way of thinking, you haven't become that yet.
Yeah.
And so until you do the thing and you become it, then it becomes a habit and a part of you. And a lot of the things that I say and I tell people to do, I go through myself. And that's the reason why I'm so passionate about it, because I go through the process. I could relate. I've done it. I live it. I still live it, you know?
Yeah.
And I think it's a forever process. If you are continuing to grow, there's always going to be this old thing that you got to get rid of. Doesn't matter how much money you make right now. If you're going from making $1 million to $1 billion, guess what? You got some $1 million habits that you got to get rid of and get $1 billion habits, right? It's all a part of letting go of the old and going into the new. It is what it is.
Yep. I have to agree. I feel like I'm being pushed all the time. And, like I had said earlier, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm trying. And I do think that you have to be willing to step outside that comfort and take trust in the people who you have decided to put your future into,
100%.
For sure. Absolute sure. So when did you join Sub 2? How did you go from, being a wholesaler in Georgia into coming into, Pace's community? And you're such an asset for us. We're so lucky. But I'd like to know about that transition time. Like, how did that go?
So that really came because in December, well, a little bit before, my first mentor taught me creative financing. I really wanted to learn creative financing, and I learned the theory of it. So could I underwrite a deal or structure a deal and all that stuff? Like, absolutely. Could I speak this to a seller? No. And so every time I would get on the phone and talk to these sellers, they would always deny or say no to my creative deals. And I'm like, why wouldn't you take this? And then I was on YouTube, looking up Brand Daniels. From Brand Daniels, I got connected with Pace. And I'm like, this dude sounds like he knows how to speak this creative stuff to sellers. And so I went back to my team. I'm like, hey, I think we should do this. My wife was like, nope, We just spent 30 there. I joined another one after that. So like we were like almost like 50, close to 50 in the hole. And we were doing all right, but we still had a lot. We had bills plus the investment to pay. And so we didn't break even yet. And I'm like, listen, we need cash flow. Like us doing all of this work is great, but we still got to hunt for the next deal. I really think this guy could get us to where we need to be. They denied me for like about a hot 2 months or so until like one day I'm just like, we have to do it. We have to do it. Because I had seen enough. I had just seen enough of his sales calls where I'm like, this guy knows something that I don't. I need to learn from him. And so December of 2020 was when I joined Sub 2, and to learn how to close. And I'll tell you, Pace was in my house, in the bathroom with me. He was everywhere. Like I binge listened to all of his sales calls, like over and over and over. I became Pace. Literally, I became Pace. And in 2021, we went from 1 to 21 doors, just simply because I knew how to speak now. I knew how to close. And not only so, when I pair my engineering mindset and how to get to a goal fast, so now it's like the high performance stuff that I learned, in addition to now knowing the sales, it was just like a turbo rocket that made me just kind of start being way more successful in getting to the goals that we wanted to hit.
And you were still wholesaling at this time?
So it made me change my concept of wholesaling. We still wholesale deals. Yes, we did still wholesale deals, but wholesaling is really an exit strategy, right? There's two sides to it. Your marketing strategy as to how you get leads and how you get deals, and then what you do with it. Right. Wholesaling is what you do with it. It's not the strategy itself, because there's the acquisition and disposition as I wholesale that deal. And so once I learned that, okay, the marketing side of the company needs to get a certain amount of deals, but we're going to change the criteria of those deals. Instead of looking for vacant land or vacant properties, let's go after tired landlords, because we want to keep these properties. We want to be able to keep them and cash flow them. So my criteria on that side changed. And so we wholesale a lot less, because now the deals, we were either buying them or we wholesale a rental unit to a buy and hold investor. So I needed to buy a new list, because now my buyers wasn't fix and flippers anymore. They were buy and hold investors. And so a few things changed, but so we still wholesale, but we wholesale to buy and hold investors instead of fix and flippers. And it's all a model, right? But it starts from, what am I looking for on the acquisition side?
Right.
If it fits my buy box, great, we're going to keep it. If it doesn't, then we wholesale it. And that's kind of the model we went to in 2021.
Cool. So that's pretty impressive to go from 1 door to 21. That's pretty cool. And once you started getting your skill set there, how did you go from that to mindset? And actually, because it sounds to me like this was just being poured into you, and you were, having to struggle and grow with it yourself and that sort of thing. But yeah, it's one thing to do that. It's another thing to be at the point where you're helping others, as you are. Yeah. So how did that happen?
Well, it became really interesting to me because I went through this phase of believing that if I could do it, anyone can. And that's true. But I did it from the standpoint of, are you stupid? Why are you not doing it? All you got to do is this, right? So it was that expectation. It's like when you learn something new, you kind of impose your knowledge on other people and you kind of look down on them and like, how could you possibly not do this? Like, it's so obvious. And you just learned it like last week. You know what I mean? And so I went from, because I would see people in sub 2 saying they're struggling with all these different things and they're not getting deals, they're struggling with motivation and all, like, just so many different things that at this point seemed like it came natural to me. Now, it wasn't until I had to take a step back and say, is this natural or did I actually learn this? Because I couldn't get past a certain place before high performance, before I hired my high performance coach. I couldn't get past certain things without different elements and different guides in my life. Like, you know, in going through a divorce before, like I read books and that helped me out. And so it was all of these mindset things that I learned that became who I was. And I had to really pause and say, dude, you learned all these different things. How about you teach it to other people? And so I used to do sales calls because I was part of the beginning phases of the Daily Dial, where we were on the Daily Dial when it was on Skype, and it moved to Zoom, and so I would teach sales because at that point in time I was embodying pace, and so I knew the sales language really well, and then I would start breaking down Pace's seller calls because I'm like, how are y'all not seeing what he's doing? Like, it's so obvious. But again, I spent thousands of hours listening to him, right? So then I would say, okay, let me break down his sales calls. And so I would teach people everything Pace did to close so that they could close. Because what I would see is they would look at it as entertainment versus as a lesson. And so it'd be like, oh my God, you're so good. And I'm like, he is great. But what did he do? You know, like, that's what we need to take away from this. And it wasn't until I realized like people were still struggling so much with mindset. I changed it. Well, it first started where I would start my sales calls Tuesdays, where I would teach people how to paint the picture back to sellers. They were still struggling with mindset. And so I would start with like 10 minutes of mindset. Then I would get into sales. Then it went to 30 minutes of mindset. Then we get into sales. And then one day I'm like, no more sales, all mindset, like, because this is what you guys need. Like, there are 4 other days where people are doing sales. Go there if you want to learn sales. I want to help people with their mindset. And I started to teach what I was learning from my life experiences, but also what I learned from my high performance coach. And one day, somebody messaged me, Conti. He messaged me and said, hey man, I know you're not you don't consider yourself to be an expert at this, but I believe you could change my life. And I want to pay you to be my coach. And I seen the message come in and I took a snapshot of it. I sent it to my wife. I sent it to my family group chat. And I'm like, what do I do? Because it was all good, like teaching from, I'm not getting paid. I'm just volunteering, like, but he challenged me. And he was my first client. And so I started coaching him officially. Was it 2021? 2022, January of 2022 was officially like when we started. And in my first 6 months of coaching him, he tripled his business.
Oh, like, that's so nice. Tripled. Oh, that's so awesome.
It was phenomenal. I'm like, whoa, this is crazy. But what was more impactful to me than that was one of his goals was to have a better family life. There were some things that he wanted to have happen, and he was able to hit those goals and get the things that he desired from his wife, from his kids, and that really hit home for me. I'm like, wow, like this is crazy. Like I'm literally just changed this person's life. And so that motivated me to go and get certified by Brandon Burchard. I'm like, I want to get certified by the same person who taught my coach. And so I went and I got certified by Brandon Burchard. I mean, phenomenal guy. And so once I got certified by Brandon, then I opened up shop. I opened up shop and I started doing group coaching and started doing some one-on-ones and that type of stuff. And I just kept seeing people's lives changed. And at that point, the feeling that I had in making money doing real estate, which was great, and what I was experiencing, seeing someone's journey and how they've been able to change, I couldn't compare the two. Like the fulfillment was just way more than any check that I've gotten. And Effie, I've gotten close to $500,000 checks
Nice.
in doing real estate. And so it's like that wears off, but being able to see someone's life change, that goes on.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you know what? If I applied the same attitude, the same consistency that I had for becoming a real estate investor to becoming a coach, something that I'm purposeful in and passionate about, it's going to work the same way. And so I've followed and still following the same process because I'm still on the ground floor of what I'm doing. To be becoming a coach and a better coach and kind of just continuing on. So that's kind of what has gotten me to this point right now. And in between that was multifamily and all that type of stuff, right? But that's definitely gotten me to this point now.
Wow. What a journey. That's incredible. Very incredible. And so time-wise, you're doing your coaching more than anything else. Is that right?
Yes.
So what about where's real estate at this time? I mean, you have or had 21 doors. Are you continuing that or just kind of letting it sit?
So right now we have 52 doors.
52 doors. Oh,
yeah,
good. Right. Change that number.
Right now we got
with the minute. Wow.
That includes like some multifamily and some Airbnbs and things like that. So real estate is still there. Still love real estate. It's definitely something that will never go away. Mm-hmm. But my understanding of money is different. My purpose is also more important than making money. And if I could do something that I'm able to do both in, it sounds like a perfect win, right? And so if I could do something that I'm able to change person's lives, help them to become successful, help them to have better harmony in their relationships and business, because that's the main thing for me, even now, where how are you with your family life and your business life? Because most of us, we go through the same process that I went through, and I was committed enough to focus on making sure that my wife and I were on the same page before even getting deep into real estate. And from what I see, a lot of people reach out to me and ask me, hey, how did you get your wife to be on board? Because I feel unsupported by my partner and all these types of things. And so it's like, if I could help someone's home become a more happy place and give them the strategies that I use to be able to go out and buy more doors and make money and all that type of stuff, I'll take that any day over closing a wholesale deal, and any day of the week. And so our intention now is to continue to serve those that wants to be served and we could help, and use that money to invest. That's kind of what we're going to do. And instead of making investing our primary strategy, it's helping people is our primary strategy now. And then we just invest in deals silently or partner or whatever, buy businesses and like all the fun stuff, right?
Right.
But
And
that's what we
in a big way, that's what Pace does, right?
exactly.
Because obviously he does everything in real estate, but
Yeah,
how's he doing it? By helping people, and people just bring it to him. So
exactly.
that is pretty cool. Now he also is a genius in how to think outside the box, and is teaching us to, to be givers and to, you know, push yourself and grow and think outside that box and all of that sort of thing.
Hmm.
But it is interesting how helping people is key. If he wasn't a Mormon, I'll bet he wouldn't be on the same path. Just because his religion forced him to have to try to give, to
Yeah.
Koreans and such, by going and preaching. It became part of him.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to see that. Okay. Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
That's an interesting question. But it is interesting that I think Pace actually grows and becomes richer by helping, by helping.
100%.
So, what
100%.
are some tips to empty our cups of crap that doesn't serve us?
Man, you gotta understand, and here's where understanding is key and awareness is key, because when you understand paradigms and what that really means, paradigms are a multitude of habits or a group of habits that has been passed down from one generation to the next, right? And so we've all probably heard of paradigm shifts and all that type of stuff. All paradigm really means is habits. Now, where did the habits come from? It came from one generation or your culture. And so it's like the things that you do right now is because of how you do it that way, because of how your parents did it. Why
Hmm.
did they start doing things that way? Because of how their parents did it. And so it's all of these things that's been passed down to you, where now you're moving on automatic doing things that your parents did or your great ancestors did years ago. But now it's kind of just like, this is just who I am. Not really. You've been programmed that way. These are the things that's been passed down. Now, the reason why that's important to know to answer this question is because what are you going to consider to be crap is going to vary from person to person, because something that doesn't serve you, you may still identify as part of your culture. I'll give you an example. I'm from Trinidad. Carnival is super big in Trinidad. Super big. It's huge. Now, what is carnival? Now, depending on who you ask, they're going to give you different reasonings and all that type of stuff. And some people from my culture would hate me when I say this, but this is my opinion, and to me, it's true. Although there's a artistic history to carnival, it's been heavily sexualized, heavily, where people that go for carnival, they go for a few different things: to drink, to have fun, to cheat, to whatever. It's almost like what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, right? So it's not something that I carry on in my life because of the lifestyle I want to live. Now, there are people who may want to live the same life that I live. And so I'm a Christian, and so I live by those laws and rules and whatever, right? And so people who are Christian that lives in Trinidad, because it's part of our culture, they still do carnival. Now, they will justify it by saying, oh, it's a part of our culture. But does it really serve you in the lifestyle you actually want to live? The answer to that is absolutely not. It does not. There's nowhere in any Bible or any God-given thing would it encourage that type of behavior or like at all. Now, with that being said, coming back to this question, you now have to decipher and be aware of what you're doing. What are your habits? What are your attitudes? What are your perspectives on life to now say, okay, I want to keep this. I don't want to keep this. I want to keep this. I don't want to keep this. This doesn't serve me. This doesn't serve me. But here's the catch in all of this. Becoming aware is just the first step. Having a goal to say, okay, I want to become this. That's your destination, right? Your current location is becoming aware of what you do. And for those of you who know, I love using the GPS as an analogy, right? And so in your GPS, you need to have your current location and also your address, your destination. So it's, what am I currently doing? I need to become aware of where I am. What am I currently doing? And then I need to become aware of who I want to be. And when you understand who you want to be, there's a thing called a cybernetic system where as you go to try to be this thing, you're going to get pulled back because it's very hard to break habits. Mm-hmm. So although consciously, you know that you want to make a change in your life and you're like, I don't want to do this anymore. And maybe you've had conversations with somebody that's an alcoholic or anything, and or even people that's sleeping around, and they're like, you know that's wrong. And they'll say, I know, but why are you doing it? I don't know, but you know it's wrong. And I know, but why you keep doing it? I don't know, right? It's just like that cycle. And it's because of that cybernetic system that just keeps pulling them back to the life that they used to live. And so what needs to happen in between there is a high level of accountability, and also just understanding steps. It's almost like AA for changing habits, right? And so long-winded answer to your question, how do you change the crap and empty the crap, bro? It comes with those steps, becoming aware of what you currently do and what that crap is, being determined and committed enough to say, I'm going to go on this journey, knowing where you're going to go and who you actually want to be as your destination. And then the process to get there, the support you need to get there, that accountability that's going to check in on you when the inevitable, I want to go back to my comfort happens, to keep you going, keep you pushing, keep you on target to your destination.
Wow. Wow. I can see that your sessions must be very intense.
They are.
Because some of the habits that we have, we may not think on, or we just, like you said, it becomes not that easy to just stop. So
it isn't.
Yeah. That is really interesting for sure. Well, you've got a lot of people curious. Dang, you're awesome, Keston. Take my money.
Appreciate it, man.
It looks like you picked up a client, at least. But I do think it's pretty fascinating. Now, I just put up your YouTube and your Instagram a little while ago. Are there any other ways that people can get a hold of you, Keston?
Yeah, just reach out to me on Instagram at Kes on Purpose. And if there's anything you need help with, and I love to give something to the people whose podcast that I'm on. And so if you guys add me on Instagram and you DM me the word Effie, I have a special thing for you guys.
Oh my gosh. Okay, guys, right now. I don't know what
That's okay. DM me the word Effie on Instagram at Kes on Purpose. And that thing is, I want to invite you guys into my my group coaching program for 2 weeks free, where you're able to come in and just kind of see what our world looks like in there. And right now we're in the midst of a book study on, I got so many books. We're studying the Working with the Law by Raymond Howell, and it's an amazing book that has the potential to absolutely change your life. Amazing. And
Wow,
so
that's very, very generous of you. Very generous. I think that that's pretty cool. I will sign up. Okay, and hopefully, if anybody is here who wants to sign up, we can go through this together. It's got to be interesting minimally, but I think that's very kind of you. I want to say thanks.
absolutely. Absolutely. It's the least I could do to provide value to the people in your community and what you're doing here. And Effie, like, I absolutely adore you. Just for who you are and the steps that you're taking to even be uncomfortable, right? Like, I remember when what the Effie was a concept, and now we're here. And I absolutely just want to thank you for trusting yourself and growth to getting somewhere, because it's inspiring. It's so inspiring to see that.
Thank
And
you. Thank you. It wasn't without pains. You can, when I think of Thai, I want to die, because it was unpleasant to be sweating and trying not to have a heart attack while I'm looking for the live button for
yeah,
19 grueling minutes. And he was so kind. We had one person who was watching us by the end of 19 minutes. But, so it's not like I am a natural. And as I said, I'm fortunate that I have people like Josh Keating and Graham to help me out. But yeah, and I wasn't really ready for it, but I'm glad that I let them push me. And because it's been so fascinating for me to be able to have people like yourself on and ask anything that I want or anything that any of the viewers would like to ask. I think that is so special.
it,
So
it
I am
really
grateful
is.
for it.
It really is, man. Super inspiring to me to see, because it takes it shows that anyone has the potential to change, right? And I mean, the eldest client I've had in high performance is 72. So we've
You're
had
older than me. A little bit.
but it just shows that anyone who is committed to change has the potential. It's
Yeah.
like, this isn't, some people may say this isn't for me. Like, no, just you got to understand the process of change, understand what needs to happen, because it's all a process. The universe, the world, God, however you decide to name it, it works in a very orderly fashion. And so to get a fruit doesn't start with the fruit. It starts with a seed that's planted, that gotta go down, it gotta get fertilized, like all this process needs to happen. It doesn't just start in the middle, right? Like, day come and then night comes, right? Like, it doesn't start in the middle. Well, unless you're in Alaska or something. But like,
Hey, Jesse, we feel for you, man.
I know. I seen the video that he had. Like, that's crazy. But there's all these things. If you study just our world that we live in, it's so orderly, and our minds need to be orderly as well, as to how what's the process for actually getting to this destination. And that's what I've become obsessed with, learning from myself even more, to be able to even help my clients, because I'm still learning so much when it comes to this process, and mindset, and just different things, that it fuels me, because I also commit to not teaching my clients anything that I don't experience and know for myself. I don't want to be a teacher. I want to be a coach. There's a very big difference between them. A teacher just reads things off but doesn't apply it. A coach lives it and then is able to apply. And I want to remain being a coach versus a teacher.
I love that. I love that. That's awesome. Very nice. Okay, well, I think we are at time. I'd like to say thank you. Please, if you don't mind, drop a big thanks or a fire or hands, whatever. For
drop some fires in the chat.
Yeah, there you go. Drop some fire now. Oh, there we go. We got some. All right.
Oh,
I'm going to play the outro and I'm going to say thank you, everyone. Here we go.